vertebral column. Okay, there are several vertebrae, and these are, I think, cervical vertebrae. You know what cervical vertebrae? Yeah? Vertebral canal. And that also, give me that. This is from the lumbar region, maybe. This is the dorsal side. This is the ventral side, spinal cord. Look at the spinal cord. These are spinal nerves here. Similarly, spinal nerves. Now, we have two models on spinal cord. And this model tells you something about gross anatomy, and also some, you can say, histology. Microscopic organization. But it has been magnified several times. Okay? You need to know the dorsal side and the ventral side. Human being has erect posture. So this front, this is called anterior or ventral, and this is the posterior or dorsal. And we know by looking at the vertebral column, when you see the spinous processes, that means on the dorsal side, this is the ventral side. Okay? Now, when the spinal nerves are present, then it is easy to figure out which one is dorsal, which one is ventral. Okay? But when you don't have all these structures, like under the microscope, how are you going to figure out the dorsal side and the ventral side? The ventral or anterior side, in the white matter, there is a deep furrow, very deep, like here. It's going down, look, it's going down. This is the deep furrow. This is called the anterior or the ventral median fissure. So, you know the ventral side. If you know the ventral side, the opposite side will be the dorsal side. So here, this is the dorsal side. You need to identify two features. One is the anterior or ventral median fissure. Another, on the dorsal side, this is a shallow groove, very shallow. And this is called a sulcus. This is called a dorsal or posterior median sulcus. Dorsal or posterior median sulcus. Here, ventral or anterior median fissure. Okay? You see the outer white matter. Now this is like a column, isn't it? So there are different regions when you can identify the dorsal and ventral side. There are, and you have no problem to identify the lateral side, isn't it? If you know the dorsal and ventral, you know the lateral. On that basis, the white matter has three regions. Here, this is the dorsal column of white matter. This is the ventral column of white matter. This is the lateral column of white matter. Those three areas of white matter you are supposed to identify. And also the anterior median fissure and posterior median sulcus. Now, anterior and ventral can be used interchangeably. Posterior or dorsal can be used. You should immediately understand posterior meaning dorsal. Okay? Now, when the spinal nerves are present, then you will have also another what is called advantage to identify the dorsal side from ventral side, because this structure is called dorsal root ganglion. What is a ganglion?
Cell bodies.
Cell bodies of neurons are located, and the appearance will be swollen appearance. Look, swollen appearance. Now, the spinal nerves that form the parts of peripheral nervous system Any spinal nerve arises from two places and has root. This is the dorsal root of spinal nerve. This is the ventral root of spinal nerve. Then the dorsal root and the ventral root, they join to form the spinal nerve. This is the spinal nerve. You cannot identify this as spinal nerve. This is the ventral root of spinal nerve. This is the dorsal root of spinal nerve. On the dorsal root side, there is the swelling, which is called the dorsal root ganglion. So this is the dorsal side. What have you learned so far? The white matter and the gray matter. Dorsal column of white matter or dorsal white column, lateral column of white matter, ventral column of white matter. Ventral median fissure, dorsal median sulcus, dorsal root of spinal nerve, ventral root of spinal nerve, dorsal root ganglion, and the spinal nerve. I don't know if I brought